right, guys. So today we got to talk about these liberals and Democrats who are planning to die on the illegal immigration hill. That's right. I said it. They are planning to die on the illegal immigration hill. Now, if you ain't been really knowing what's going on, the illegal migrant Abrego Garcia has been deported. And basically, they are now plotting to go over there to El Salvador to try to get him back. Now, I'm pretty sure you guys have been listening to multiple different podcasts and things like that about Abrego Garcia. So let's look into it. Let's get
your reaction to that and the fact that President Trump has gotten tough, saying he will pull federal funding unless they get a handle on stopping this anti-Semitism at universities across the country?
These universities are not entitled to the.
Your reaction to that and the fact that President Trump has gotten tough, saying he will pull federal funding unless they get a handle on stopping this anti-Semitism at universities across the country?
These universities are not entitled to those federal dollars. They have to ensure that they are protecting Jewish students on campus. So again, we are just seeing a failure within higher education. The Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon, has done a tremendous job forcing these universities to address this crisis on campus, and we're going to continue to use our ability on Capitol Hill and our appropriations and our oversight of these higher ed dollars to hold them accountable.
Now, Congresswoman Elise Stefanik and House Oversight Chairman James Comer are taking action against Harvard University. They wrote a letter to the school's president asking for documents about Harvard's compliance with civil rights laws, writing in part, quote, "It should come as no surprise that Harvard would continue to advocate for illegal discrimination and violate its obligations under the law, as it has a long, consistent history of defending racial discrimination and anti-Semitic activities on campus. Harvard recently, merely 2 years ago, fought all the way to the Supreme Court of the United States to defend the institution's desire to discriminate on the basis of race in admissions programs." And Congressman James Comer joins us now. Chairman, thank you so much for joining us. Harvard, you and Elise Stefanik, what's your take? What's the latest? Appreciate that letter. What do you expect is going to happen next?
Well, we're going to find out. We've requested documentation because at the end of the day, Jason, civil rights laws ban institutions from receiving federal funds if they're out of compliance with civil rights laws. And if you go back to the House Education Committee hearing when my colleague Elise Stefanik, who is a Harvard grad, asked the university presidents what their policy was against anti-Semitism, they wouldn't even answer. And it was very clear that that they didn't want to talk about it, that they weren't concerned about it, or that they were just willing to, allow anti-Semitism on campus. That is against federal civil rights laws. So if you look at the amount of money that Harvard University gets from the federal government, more than any other university in America, we could make a strong argument that they're out of compliance and should not receive a single penny of federal funds. So hopefully Harvard will work with us. We'll turn over the documentation and we can review those documents and then proceed further.
Yeah, for Harvard to be sitting on something like $55 billion and getting billions of dollars in taxpayer money, while at the same time not tackling and solving this, they could resolve this pretty easily by making sure they protect Jewish students and their ability to roam on campus, be on campus, go unimpeded, and not feel like they're subject to these attacks on them personally and making them feel uncomfortable and unsafe.
That's right. And I go back to George Washington University in Washington, D.C. My oversight committee, toured the demonstrations when they blocked buildings. They were blocking Jewish students from entering buildings at George Washington University, and nothing was being done. The local law enforcement wasn't going in there. The mayor wasn't moving. The university presidents were afraid to say anything publicly. I'm not going to say what they told us privately, but at the end of the day, you had similar situations in Harvard. We received messages not only from Harvard students, but their parents saying that their Jewish children do not feel safe on campus. And for Harvard to be, the one of the flagship universities in America, to demonstrate this type of lack of concern for civil rights laws is very concerning. And then you throw on top of that, Jason, as we already said, the amount of federal funding they get. And let me be very clear with Harvard University. Their federal funding, 100% of their federal funding is at risk if they do not comply with my and Representative Stefanik's request.
Well, I can't wait to see how that plays out. You also, as chairman, have some duties and responsibilities, and that is signing off on travel for members of Congress who maybe want to go to El Salvador to meet with people who have been deported. What's your take on this? What are you going to do with this?
Now, I would turn around and I would say this as I said before. No one has the right to block you from being able to enter schools or being able to attack someone personally. But this is what happens when you turn around and you allow this stuff to go on for so long. And I bet you a lot of these people that probably have people that are family, close relatives in that country, I can understand where they're coming from and why they're doing it. But when you take it too far, it's basically you want to protest and stop people from being able to get an education and start violating innocent people's rights. That's when it becomes a problem. And now what then turns around and happens with that is government steps in, and now you have to deal with brand new anti-Semitic speech laws. Which means if there's anybody that has criticism of Israel, they can be deemed as anti-Semitic. This is what happens when you take things overboard. But we're going to keep going.
Well, I had two members of the House Oversight Committee, Garcia from California and Frost from Florida, and they sat there silent during the entire Biden investigation, during the entire investigation of Border Patrol and Mayorkas that we had in the Oversight Committee. If anything, they were obstructive. They weren't concerned. They showed no concern for the lack of our national security or the violation of our southern border security laws. But then this one person that the liberal media picked up on that was deported to El Salvador, they went crazy before it came out that he was actually an MS-13 gang member, and they wanted me to authorize funding at my committee's expense to send them down to El Salvador and meet with this person for a photo op and to have margaritas and enjoy the sunny weather. And I obviously denied their request. We're not going to spend a penny of taxpayer dollars for liberal Democrats to continue their stunts to try to appease the radical left-wing base when the American people spoke loud and clear on Election Day. They want our southern border secured, and they want criminal illegals deported, and that's exactly what Donald Trump's doing.
Well, one of the things, Congressman, that voters also said is I think they're fed up with these sanctuary states.
Bruh, this is what I'm talking about. This is what they want to die on this type of hill. I have never seen Democrats go this hard for anybody that's Black, African American, or better yet, any Hispanics that are actually born in America. I've never seen them go this hard. To basically go to another country to save somebody who was not even a citizen of the United States, who is not even a citizen of the United States, and is legally a citizen of El Salvador, an El Salvadorian citizen, as if this is going. Now, I'm going to turn around and I'm going to pretty much predict the future of how this going to go, and I'm gonna say it right now. This is a lost cause, because the El Salvadorian president, Nayib Bukele, is going to turn around and shut all this down. Now, Supreme Court asked the Trump administration to facilitate his return. That basically means help him return to the United States if the El Salvadorian president allows it. But here's the thing, how I think this is really going to go. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Trump may try to facilitate it, but Nayib Bukele is going to turn it down because he is legally a citizen of El Salvador. So it's really up to the El Salvadorian president and the El Salvadorian government to say, yes, we'll send him back. But I have a grand idea that he's going to say no. I have a very, very strong idea that he's going to say no. Democrats are going to be mad. They're going to turn around and get up on CNN and MSNBC and blame Trump for everything. Watch. That's what's going to happen. That's pretty much what is exactly going to happen. They're going to get turned down. They're going to be pretty much a blank mission. They're going to fail at it. And then they're going to come back, get up on all these platforms and blame Donald Trump.
Harboring people not cooperating with ICE. You've got a hearing coming up. Tell us what you're doing with that, and what governors do we expect to see?
Well, we're going to have the governors of Illinois, Minnesota. Maybe we'll remember that governor, Tim Walz, and the governor of New York.
I'm sorry, but he said the mayor of Chicago, bruh, please, please. I got a sister that lives in Chicago. Please get that man up out of there. Get that man up out of there. It's time for him to go. He done turned around and took away shots fired, then defunded the police. The police is literally understaffed. The way he's been running that city is completely, absolutely trash. He worse than the other one that was before him, Lori Lightfoot. And I'm sorry, if you worse than Lori Lightfoot, yeah, it's time for him to go.
These are 3 sanctuary states. We had a hearing earlier with sanctuary city mayors that continue to obstruct Tom Homan's efforts to deport the criminal illegals. Now we're going into the governors. We're bringing the governors in. And again, their federal funding is at risk. We are serious about states and local governments and universities complying with our federal laws, with the Constitution, with civil rights laws. And what we have now are left-wing activist politicians who are not.
I'm going to be real. I don't know how long J.B. Pritzker been the governor of Illinois, but that's a damn shame. I don't know how long he's been governor of Illinois. That's how inactive this man is as a governor. And for him to come out and blast Donald Trump the way that he been doing and fight and obstruct against Donald Trump the way that he been doing, homie, you could have been fighting to get somebody up in there that could fix Chicago around and turn Chicago around from the direction that it's been going into since the time your ass been governor of Illinois. This is a damn shame. This is a damn shame that you got to go to the lengths of pulling funding from certain states because mayors and governors refuse to comply with federal law. Because for some reason, they don't like the president of the United States. You know what? Never mind. Because I was about to ask this doggone question. Do we have this problem with Obama when Obama was in office? Did any of these people go to this great lengths to obstruct against the president when Obama was in office? We talking about over 3 million illegal immigrants being deported in chief. But Orange Man come up here 6'7", and everybody got a problem with it. He said, but Orange Man come up in here 6'7" and try to do the same thing, and everybody got a problem with it. Listen, this is why you need strict immigration policies. Everybody that come over here that want to make something of themselves and want to contribute to society must first assimilate to the culture. Which means assimilate to the culture. Leave everything in the country that you came from. Come over here if you want to come over here. But if you want to come over here, you might as well come over here completely butt naked with nothing in hand. And be ready to assimilate to the culture that you are now about to live in. Because all this bullcrap about people sitting there deporting families and things like that and being able to get people riled up. And this is what the Democrats love to do. This is what they love to do. Use the media outlets to turn around and get people riled up and things like that. To think that people is going to be, that the administration is racist. Or and it's racist to turn around him and have immigration policies, but it's not racist when they practice those same immigration policies.
With our federal laws, with the Constitution, with civil rights laws. And what we have now are left-wing activist politicians who are not complying with our national security laws. We have a president that campaigned very transparently that he was going to secure the border and deport the criminal illegals. And to this day, we have governors and mayors in these big blue cities and blue states who are obstructing that. We're going to bring them in. We want the American people to see their position. We want them to state their position. And we want to make very clear that we expect them to comply with federal law or else. And that's what the committee hearing is going to be about. This is the first step. We're working closely with Tom Homan and ICE to make sure that we have accurate information that we're going to present at this hearing. And we look forward to hearing from the governors.
Yeah, they've got a lot to explain because these sanctuary cities, the states in particular,
Yeah, you know what? I just thought of something. How far can the federal government go? How far can the federal government go? Can we legally remove some of these governors and mayors from their position without people voting? Because clearly, you come to doggone Chicago, Illinois, they're gonna continue to be stupid, and then put somebody else up in there that's even worse than Brandon Johnson. I mean, I don't know what's wrong with Chicago. Chicago been Democrat ever since I can remember. We ain't had no Republican Party run against any Democrats in Chicago for over 50 years. For over 50 years. And I mean, look at the city. Look at it. Lack of police enforcement. People getting shot and killed people getting shot up and killed over almost every weekend. You know, it used to be an old saying that when summertime come around in Chicago, a lot of dead bodies gonna drop. That's what they used to say up there. Why is that? Because a lot of the you-know-who's is gonna be outside. But let's keep going.
then to have a criminal element, have somebody there who's been charged with serious crimes and not cooperate and communicate when there's a detainer put in place, it's just unbelievable to me that they would do that and then release these people out into the public and make their communities more dangerous. Congressman, I got to move on to this though. China has been acquiring land. You showed up, you put out a pretty good map on this. China's been acquiring farmland and other types of land, coincidentally, near our military bases. What are you doing with this?
Well, we're trying to pass legislation to prevent it. But first of all, we're trying to identify where exactly China's purchased land. And that's a work in progress. I don't think anyone in the government prior to the Trump administration was very serious about identifying land that China owns near a military base. I have a military base in my district, Fort Campbell, Kentucky. There's a lot of farmland around there. And we know of instances where the Chinese have tried through back channels and LLCs and different side entities to try to gain access to ownership of that land. Why are they purchasing farmland near military bases? That is a question of national security of the highest regard. So we're going to, first of all, identify where all China owns land, and then obviously try to ban this in the future, but also try to figure out what to do with the land that they have. We have plenty of farmers in America that are trying to acquire farmland. They can't afford it. I'm a farmer in the private sector, Jason. I know all about farmland prices and what you've got, developers and foreign entities that have come in and driven the price of farmland up and made it.
you idiots is listening to the doggone media and basically saying this trade war is stupid and it doesn't make any sense. This is what the hell China has been doing to the country for the last 30 to 40 years. Using back channels and unsecured links, LLCs, to purchase farmland in the country near military bases. And you people wonder why we need a trade war with China. You people is sitting there wondering why we need a trade war with China. You people is sitting there wondering why China deserves to have the highest tariff put on them in all of American history. And you folks is sitting there calling Donald Trump stupid, and the trade war that he's doing is stupid. So you want to hand your land over to another country because y'all too busy listening to Democrats saying Orange Man bad. And this is what he been trying to tell y'all for I don't know how long. 30 to 40 doggone years. How did it get like this? You better ask your buddy, what's his name? Bill Clinton. And the previous presidents who kicked the can down the road. But you people, you Democrats, you sitting here looking at Donald Trump like you liberals, supporters, are wondering why Trump wants to put get this trade war with them. You wonder why you wonder why we need a trade war with them completely. You wonder why. And ultimately, China think they slick. They just gonna sit here and wait it out for the next 4 years. Okay. Let's rack this thing up from 245% to 445%. Listen, if y'all don't know how to play the game, then stay up out of these political arenas. If y'all don't know how to play the game, y'all let your emotions take over and cloud your judgment, you don't want to be out here in these doggone political arenas. If you cannot have the attitude and the personality to stand on business, no matter what, you better stop. Don't even think about running for president. If you can't play alongside with these other foreign countries and play fair, and know when it's time to stand on business without getting in your emotions, because that's all I hear from the Democrats. These are our allies. These are our friends. These are our allies. They're not our friends. This is strictly business. This is strictly business. This is strictly business. Now, I will admit, you got good business partners and you got bad business partners. The bad business partner is China. The good business partners are the ones that really rock with you. So 9 times out of 10, instead of complaining about it, they just gonna come to the table and say, okay, we get you. We got it. Yeah. But all these other countries that's sitting there complaining about these tariffs, they're not your friend. They're not your ally. Every country that is on the face of this planet is in it for themselves. If we can't turn around and do this and be the same way, you might as well not even call this a country then. You might as well not even call this a country then. Because where in the hell am I able to turn around and go buy land in another country and still live inside of America? Where can I do that? Huh? Because if I was able to do that, guess what? I would have took my ass over there to Zimbabwe right now. I would have been took my ass over there to Africa right now. And I bet you I can probably find some land for cheap. But you cannot do that in other countries. And that's the reason why they got to use the backup plans. Fake LLCs. Unidentified links and things like that, because they know you can't do this as well too. They're not slick. Listen, the Chinese is absolutely one of the most educated groups on the face of the planet. Why is that? Because they're not allowed to take any breaks whatsoever in their culture. They are not allowed to take any breaks on school and education within their culture. You know what? Let's get back to the video.
Impossible for farmers to be able to purchase land to grow crops. So there's so many things that are wrong with China having the right to buy farmland, not to mention the fact that it's near our military bases. So this is a big problem. We're trying to get a handle on it and then try to.
And then Joe Biden pulls a Bill Clinton move, except for it wasn't manufacturing jobs, it was farming and land. You sold your own land, the land of your own country, to another country, and y'all want to sit here and say this man was comprehensive and one of the best presidents of all time. Democrats are so stupid. This is absolutely, I'm so glad. I'm low-key so glad. I'm glad that I no longer live in Chicago, because I have access to all sorts of news media outlets that I can look into besides CNN, BBC, MSNBC. They got Fox News Chicago. But once again, Democratic concentrated city. So no matter what, Fox News Chicago can't really do too much in making people think differently about the Republicans. This is absolutely insane.
solve the problem.
Yeah, that's one of the great things about the Oversight Committee. Investigate anything, anywhere. Chairman
That's right.
James
You
Comer,
know all
thanks so
about it.
much for joining us on Sunday Morning Futures. Yes.
Solve the problem.
Yeah, that's one of the great things about the Oversight Committee. Investigate anything, anywhere. Chairman
That's right.
James
You
Comer,
know all
thanks so
about it.
much for joining us on Sunday Morning Futures. Yes. Happy Easter.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for joining us.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube.
And so now, boy, we're going to have to get into the next video. The next video is, this woman right here. Letitia James, a.k.a. Shrek the Third. Letitia James, a.k.a. Shrek the Third. Or should I say Shrek the Fourth? The cock-eyed chick who seemed like her eye can't even. Let's just go ahead.
YouTube. So subscribe right now.
James. For years, she pushed this Get Trump campaign, brought a massive civil fraud case against the then presidential candidate. But now AG James is being accused of one of the very same things that she's gone after the president for. Joining me now is someone who knows the Attorney General well. Please welcome former New York AG candidate Michael Henry. You ran against James in 2022. You're planning to run against her again next year. Let's start off with your reaction to this case. We were talking about it in the break, but the Federal Housing Finance Agency sent a referral to the Department of Justice saying that she lied about certain properties to get a better loan for her mortgage. She also claimed that a home in Virginia was her primary residence while she was bringing this case against Trump in New York. She was the Attorney General at that time. So in the state of New York, to be the Attorney General, your primary residence must be in New York. But she prosecuted Trump for all this. Favorable loan rates is what he had on his properties, even tweeted about it last year. What do you make of all this?
I make of all this is it's the Letitia James I ran against in 2022. It's the Letitia James I'm running against in 2026. She's never held accountable. And if you look at this is a pattern with her, because when she went after Andrew Cuomo for sexual misconduct in the workplace, at the same time, it turned out she was covering up her chief of staff doing it. And myself, Michael Lawler, Elise Stefanik, Rob Ortt, who's the minority leader in our state Senate, we pushed this issue in the media. She had to fire him. Claimed it was baseless. There was not.
Boy. I didn't know anything about that. Chris Cuomo, I didn't know anything about that. I didn't know anything about that at all. So she been committing fraud ever since she got in office. And ain't nobody held her accountable. So she been committing fraud ever since she got in office, and nobody held her responsible. Boy, she making black women look bad. She making black women in these spaces, in these positions, look terrible. Terrible. Look terrible. This is why you don't vote for bad wig, bad body, and lack of common sense. This woman is just straight downright, she just a whole criminal. And it ain't been prosecuted for nothing at all. For nothing at all. But you know what? She got the black women. She got the black women to support her. Because every time Shorty be out there protesting, it be a bunch of sisters out there screaming and hollering racism to the high heavens. Oh, it's racism, woe is me. They are oppressing us. They are bullying us. And now she getting hit with the same type of energy that she gave Donald Trump. And guess what? She gonna sit up there and say that this administration is trying to bully her.
There's nothing to it. Turns out it was substantiated. Now what she's doing with this situation is she went after Donald Trump, claiming that he put these inflated values on his properties and bank loans. And by the way, the appellate court didn't really seem to buy this argument. So there's a chance that some of these appellate judges don't believe that the lower court had the right ruling. But she went after him. And now what are we seeing? We're seeing a pattern over years. 1983 and 2000, you look at her mortgage documents, which are in the city records, the deed says her and her father. You look at the actual mortgage applications, it says husband and wife, which, I mean, a 12-year-old, you could put an application in front of them and they're going to say to themselves, I'm not married to my dad. And then now going all the way to 2023, when she was the sitting attorney general, she has this case in Virginia, where this property was purchased. Now she's saying that there was a power of attorney and she bought the property with someone and they signed off on it. The reality here is she probably didn't want to go to Virginia for a real estate closing. She gave power of attorney to someone, but you should be reading this documents. I mean, this is basic reading comprehension. You don't need a law degree. She was the attorney general of the state. She was barred as an attorney for probably about almost 40 years at that point. And you can't read a basic document that says, my primary address is in Virginia, or I'm married to my father. And there's really no way you could say this is baseless when all you have to do is go to the county clerk's records in Virginia, or you go to the New York City ACRA system, and all this is documented legally. It's all documented legal documentation.
Well, this is her side of it. The Attorney General, of course, responded to these accusations. This is what I should say in a Spectrum interview, Spectrum News, that is. This is how she defended herself. Watch.
Let me just say to all New Yorkers and to all Americans, the allegations are baseless. The allegations are nothing more than a revenge tour. I will not be silenced. I will not be bullied. I will not bend. I will not break. And I will not bow to anyone. No one is above the law, including the President of these United States.
So she also got asked a very tough question here by the anchor, and this is how she responded. Watch.
Let me ask you about some of the specifics in the letter. They're saying that your house in Brooklyn is a legal 5-family and the mortgage on it is for a 4-family house. Is that true?
So let me just say that, Errol, you know, as any good attorney, I will not litigate this case in a camera.
All right, you're laughing, but why?
Because we see that every day outside the courthouse in Manhattan holding a press conference, screaming unhinged, nobody's above the law. And in that same interview, she wouldn't say whether or not those documents are legitimate. And now she looks like the Ilhan Omar of attorney generals. Nobody buys what she's selling. In the interview itself, she looks like she's staring at a teleprompter and she's reading line for line her answers, because we've seen her off the cuff when she's awkwardly stumbling through these press conferences. And the reality of the situation here is nobody's above the law, including Letitia James. And she constantly has these issues that come up. And for a long time, she's gotten a free pass, and she's not getting them anymore. She said last week, I was trained by the best at the National Action Network conference. If you were trained by the best, you should be able to read these documents and see the discrepancies that were glaring discrepancies in the papers before you executed them and allowed them to be filed into the public record.
It's ironic that she wanted to go after Trump. She said, I'm going to get Trump. And then she said, no one's above the law. But now the narrative is the Trump administrations are the bully. They're coming after me. But isn't that kind of what she was doing as the attorney general, going after Trump?
She ran for office on the promise she would find crimes. She took Ivanka Trump and marched her into a civil trial like she was a criminal. And now someone in Virginia is probably going to be subpoenaed about this property, and she's going to turn around and play like her and that person are the victim. You do this kind of stuff to other people, but then you don't like when it's done to you. She took out a sitting governor in her own party. This is bipartisan with her. When I was running against her, they released Nikki Haley's non-for-profit tax returns to the media, which is something that's against the law in the state of New York. She has a history of doing this to people across the aisle. When Andrew Cuomo, Nikki Haley, and Donald Trump are on the same side against somebody, that tells
Oh, no wonder why she pissed. No wonder why she been pissed with Letitia James. I didn't know that. So she been doing this, and now it comes out. Now it comes out. This woman is a complete fraud.
tells you that they could build a coalition. And her reason for building this coalition is because she targets everybody. And I can tell you she has friends on both sides of the aisle, and the voters of New York are tired of her. Her act is stale.
Well, we'll see what happens. Right now, they're accusations, but we'll see whether or not there actually becomes charges against her. We'll wait to see. Thank you so much, Michael.
Thank you for having me.
And after this, we're going to have to watch some Time to Walk Away from the Democrat clips. We're going to watch a couple clips, a couple videos of people explaining why they are walking away from the Democrats.
Of pictures proving that I was all in. If you would have asked me a year ago, Democratic Party right now is because I literally just left it, just like a lot of other people. I was a bleeding heart liberal like all of you. I mean, blue hair and everything. I mean, believe me, I have plenty of pictures proving that I was all in. If you would have asked me a year ago, I would have said there is no way in hell I will ever vote for Donald Trump. But let me tell you what changed my mind. The big moment for me was when the left started trying to push this like Nazi, Hitler, fascism narrative that they're trying to push right now. Like what y'all actually did is made a lot of us really go research Trump even harder. And we started to realize that a lot of things that you guys had shown us about Trump and things that he had said were taken way out of context. A lot of us started noticing a pattern where you guys were showing us like little 10-second clips of a 10-minute conversation that did not reflect the entirety of that conversation at all. So that was number one. And then around Thanksgiving, all of a sudden you guys are telling us that it would be better for us to sit at home and spend the holidays with no one than it would be to go home to your family who voted for Trump. When I heard that, I was like, okay, now y'all are wildin', because you cannot tell me that it is better for your mental health to sit at home alone than it is to go and spend time with your friends and family. Y'all had actual therapists getting on TV and telling you guys this. And the sad thing is that it would have been better for them to encourage you to do something like find other people that believe the same as you to spend the holidays with, but they didn't. They told you to stay in your home and spend the holidays with no one. When that happened, I was like, okay, I got to give this party a second look, because something is not right here. But honestly, if you want to know the truth, what really did it for me is realizing how freaking depressed I was when I was functioning as a liberal. Liberalism will literally make you hate yourself. It will make you hate your family. It will make you hate your friends. It will make you hate everything about the world. And I'm not saying that you should just be ignorant to everything that is going on in the world, but the way that the left chooses to internalize everything that is going on in the world is detrimental to their mental health. And this is why people try to tell you that empathy is dangerous. But even that you want to take out of context. Empathy itself is a great quality to have. Empathy without discernment is detrimental. You have got to be able to discern when you are carrying too much and you need to take a step back. And none of you are doing that. Believe me, it is possible to care about everything that is going on in the world and not let it consume every single thought that you have and every single conversation that you have. A lot of us are leaving the party in droves because you guys have made it impossible to have any sort of individual thought whatsoever. Like, for instance, if I say that I like RFK Jr. because I want bad chemicals out of my food and because I want to know what's in my vaccines, you will assume that I am someone who is anti-vax and anti-science, when in fact, all three of my kids and myself have been vaccinated. I just want to tell you guys something. Every Republican most likely voted for Trump. Every person that voted for Trump is not a Republican. The fact that you guys are so against Trump's administration right now, when most of his administration is former Democrats who have now left the party, y'all look wild. I mean, the Democratic Party has brainwashed people so hard that they are actually advocating against world peace right now. People on the left would rather us keep giving money to Ukraine to fund a war than to even fathom getting Ukraine and Russia at the table to try to agree to peace. A party that I joined because they were so anti-war and I was so against war now loves war all of a sudden. They have convinced you to love war so much that you are actually fighting for transgender people to be in the military when lots of groups of people are excluded for the military for very valid reasons. For instance, people like me who suffer from anxiety and depression, and even though I'm not currently medicated, I used to take medication for this, and that would disqualify me from serving in the military. And frankly, I don't have a problem with that. I know damn well that somebody like me has no damn business being on the front lines. Me having the conditions that I have make me a liability to the safety of this country. Like, don't get me wrong, I am all for trans rights, okay? I believe that you have the right to be whoever you want to be in whatever way makes you comfortable. But you really want the right to fight in the military? Like, that's the right, that's the hill that you want to die on? Like, bro, people don't get accepted to the military because they have bone spurs on their feet. And you were complaining about the fact that a transgender person can't make it into the military. Like, at this point, the left has convinced you to be so anti-Trump that they will get you to argue for things that you used to be against. All of this summed up is exactly why you are losing people every single day. As bad as you think that you are making Trump look, all you are doing is making yourself look 10 times worse. And this last election very clearly showed that, because Trump increased his numbers across every single demographic, across women, across young voters, across Black Americans, across Hispanic Americans. Like, everyone came out to vote for Trump. And it is because we just cannot stand y'all anymore. So if you guys want to continue living in that kind of miserable existence, like, that is on you. We are not participating in that anymore. And by saying that, I'm not saying that we're not going to be participating in changing the state of the world, but we don't have to be miserable while we're doing it. So at this point, just forget everything that you have ever heard about Republicans, because I promise you, if you get a group of Trump voters in the room, you will not be able to put them all in one box. I promise you that. The Democratic Party is no longer the party of tolerance and inclusion and diversity. It's the new right. I heard someone else call us that, and honestly, I think we should start calling ourselves that, because we're not Republicans. I don't consider myself a Republican. I don't consider myself a Democrat anymore, but I damn well am not going to consider myself a Republican. I think we should coin ourselves as the new right, because that is so fitting. If that's you, then I am so glad you're here, and welcome to the new right. We would love to have you.
Here's the deal. I lived in Seattle. I still live near Seattle. In 2020, BLM and Antifa took over several city blocks in Seattle. After a decade of being in the Democrat Party, I became a registered independent in 2021. Ultimately, yes, I ended up voting for Donald Trump. Here's the deal. I lived in Seattle. I still live near Seattle. In 2020, BLM and Antifa took over several city blocks in Seattle. They caused over $7 million of damages in the 3 weeks that they occupied those blocks. People were unalived. People were essayed. Okay. It was nothing good. I went there 3 times. I saw it in person. All right. While Kamala Harris is on Stephen Colbert cheering on this violent radical behavior, saying they shouldn't stop and they won't stop, and that defunding the police won't make crime go up. And anyone who disagrees with that doesn't know what they're talking about. It turns out Kamala's a idiot and she didn't know what the fuck she was talking about. This is before she ever became a presidential nominee. So I automatically didn't like Kamala. This is after watching the 2020 debates. Tulsi was my favorite. Kamala was laughable. I was like, who the fuck is this? But either way, so they started pushing BLM. They started pushing Antifa and defund the police. That was my biggest what the hell. Also, COVID happened. I started paying attention to Donald Trump for the first time instead of just listening what people were telling me that he was saying, because it was quite important in 2020 to listen to our president because of what was going on. I realized he wasn't the evil dictator that I had been trained to believe that he was. I had been lied to. And my proof in that is because he refused to enforce any sort of federal mask mandates. Of course, vaccines weren't out, but he wasn't going to enforce vaccine mandates. He wasn't enforcing school closures, business closures, all of these things. He left it up to the states. Okay. I appreciated that. I'm like, wow, he's not a dictator. He's not misusing his power. He's not taking advantage of the American people. He's actually giving the states the freedom and the right to choose. Okay. Deal breaker with the Democrats. Let's just go through it real quick. Deal breakers for me: men and women's bathrooms, men and women's sports, children receiving HRT and surgical changes to change their gender, prisoners, criminals, anybody receiving gender reaffirming health care on the American dime. The Democrats also lied, saying that they can't close the border because of Donald Trump, because he blocked the border bill that was trying to give mass amnesty to millions of illegal immigrants that were here, as well as send billions of dollars to Ukraine. Okay. Had nothing to do with Donald Trump. Of course, it was a bad bill, but they could have signed an executive order. Look it up. You should do a little bit of research if you disagree with me. But either which way, they started pressing things that I personally am not on board with. As someone who was a vegan for 5 years, I have read a lot about global warming and environmentalism because that's one of the pillars of veganism. Okay. I've not read anything that convinces me that we should be taxing the shit out of people in the name of global warming to save them or save the planet. Period. So that's another deal breaker for me. I live in a state where there's a lot of global warming tax. Okay. Here in Washington. It was the same deal in Oregon. Either way, with Kamala's behavior in 2020, as well as these deal breakers for me, absolute deal breakers for me, 100%. DEI in schools, gender theory in schools, deal breaker for me. I view that the same as church and religion in schools, deal breaker for me, absolute deal breaker for me. Another deal breaker for me, banning abortion, banning gay marriage. There's just certain things, open borders. These are all deal breakers for me. So when I had to put Kamala Harris to Donald Trump and make a decision, there were no deal breakers for me with Donald Trump. There were only deal breakers for me with Kamala Harris. Now, you could say, what about Donald Trump's criminal record? And what I would say about that is I've done a lot of reading and I've looked into it. I would say the pardon that Hunter just gave Joe Biden just solidifies my belief that the DOJ had been weaponized and used against Donald Trump for political motivation, just as it was Hunter Biden. I'll leave you with that. But there were many things, and again, deal breakers. So as an independent, if a Republican candidate comes up in 2028 and is like, we're going to ban abortion, we're going to ban gay marriage, I'm not getting my vote. If a Democrat candidate comes up and says, we're going to tax the crap out of people in the name of global warming, we want men and women's sports, we want children to receive HRT and surgeries to change their body in the name of like changing their gender. If they push anything like that, defunding the police, deal breaker for me. If they talk about mass amnesty for illegal immigrants, deal breaker for me. It's that simple. I'm not at this point, I'm not biased enough in one direction or the other to make any kind of commitment to a party. I'm going to vote based on the policies and the ideologies that are being pushed. I'm going to vote based on common sense. And that's what I did. And I ended up voting for Donald Trump. And as an independent, depending on how the Democrat Party and the Republican Party act, which I believe in the Uniparty, and I do believe in the establishment, and I do believe that there is an abundance of corruption within the federal government. And I believe that's one of the big reasons why Donald Trump was persecuted the way that he was, because he's not one of them and he's standing against the actual establishment. I do believe that now. I won't vote for anybody who is pushing deal breaker. And I honestly don't see the Democrat Party backing off on their stuff. I think they're foolish enough to continue to push the nonsense that they're pushing. So I'm not saying I'm voting for a Republican in 2028. In my state, I actually voted for some Democrats, some Republicans, and some independent on the state level. Just depended on who it was and what it was for, who I trusted the most, who had the most sensible policies and were saying things that I resonated with that made actual sense and wasn't emotionally based. There's that. But thank you for your question. I very much appreciate it. This has been a long video, one of the longest videos I've done in a while. But yeah, have a good day. I had to add this because I realized I left it out. The Democrat Party also started pushing anti-First Amendment, saying that they wanted to ban the freedom of information and ban the freedom of speech. And that is an absolute deal breaker for them.
And they still want to do that until this day, because but under the skies of misinformation and disinformation, Senate basically which give them the power to pick and choose what the people can watch and see, what the people can access. Here we go. And so, you know what? We're going to keep going. We're going to keep going.
Talk about it, but since you guys want to hear it, I'm going to talk about it. Most Americans are waking up like never before. A lot of people's afraid to say it, but I'm going to say it because I don't give it. Black Americans waking up, Latino Americans waking up, Asian Americans are waking up. Why? Because we are tired of all the lies that we've been listening to for years. I remember back when I was younger, my parents would always say, vote Democrat. And I would always ask, why vote Democrat? And the response would always be, hey, they're here for the people. They're here to help you. And, they're out there willing to give out, assistance to those who really need it. Back then, not today. So as I basically woke up and realized that we've been lied to for many years, I finally seen the writings on the wall after many years, after Donald Trump came into the scenery in 2016, and I realized that we've been lied to. But when I tell you Black America's waking up, this young lady, who's currently running for Congress, I believe, said it and like no one can say the damn. I love when people speak the truth. I love when people go out there.
I know who you talking about.
And exploit the truth and tell the world what it really is. I don't care what color.
I think I know who he talking about. I forgot her name, but she made a statement saying I was born black, not Democrat. I forgot what the lady's name is.
What color are you? The fact that you can go out there in the podium and tell people the truth, this is who we need. This is why TikTok needs a guy like me. Are you guys following me yet? I don't see you guys following me. Let's go. Let's bring it up. Make this video go crazy. Check out this woman speak. We're waking up. You Democrats better be afraid. We're growing. We're growing.
When I first announced my run for Congress, I had this random white woman, liberal, walk up to me and ask,
Typically,
well, what about you isn't Democrat? To which I responded, well, besides my skin color, what about me is Democrat? And it was at that very moment that she realized that God gave her enough common sense to ask me about my values. Now, don't get me wrong, I was raised to vote Democrat down the ballot. So when I first started, I would say things like, no, I'm a Republican, but I'm not a conservative. But now I know all too well I am a full-fledged, hardcore conservative, and I'm proud of it. I mean, my favorite saying is I was born black, not Democrat. But in all seriousness, whenever I began to think for myself politically, the choice was easy. I mean, why would I want to belong to a party whose mission is to infringe on the Second Amendment as if a criminal would ever participate in something like a mandatory buyback? Why would I want to belong to and endorse a godless party? Because there is no such thing, and I mean no such thing as a trans child. We have confused children and sick enabling adults. Why would I want to belong to a party that takes pride in shedding innocent blood? Number one, as if that's not what God hates. Number two, as if there's not a black market for baby organs. And number three, as if abortion clinics didn't start in the hood. Because if you think Trump is bad, you should research exactly who Margaret Sanger was. But speaking of the black community, why would I want to belong to a party who's responsible for the foundation of the Triple K? But it's not just that. Supposedly in the 1900s, the party switched, right? But what never changed, what I noticed never changed, is Democrats' love for immigration, how they have always prioritized that over the black community. I mean, imagine every single Democrat leader helping you joke about what a black job is in 2024, exposing your ignorance on 1924 and how imperative the Immigration Act of that year was, how it was all reversed in 1965 with the Hart-Celler Act, how Congress refuses the advice of the Rockefeller Commission and the Hesburgh Commission, and how to this day they refuse to adopt the Barbara Jordan Blueprint, validating every single thing that Dr. Claude Anderson spoke of generally, but specifically what Mrs. King spoke of in 1991 with her letter to Congress. Now, look, I'm not saying that the Republican Party is perfect. No, nobody's perfect. What I'm saying is I side with Malcolm X when he said that the liberals were the worst thing that could ever happen to the Western Hemisphere, but y'all ignore that, just like how y'all ignore LBJ saying, and I quote, I'm going to have Negroes voting Democrat for the next 200 years, and by God, 60 years later, I see no sign of recourse, but rest assured your vote is your voice, even if it is.
Okay, so you guys saw that. But this is going to be the end of the show. Tune in, like, comment, and subscribe, and peace out.